The folks at FOXAlien has done it again. They've introduced to you the dust separator that complements the brand new HFS 800, which works hand in hand with the CNC machine. Now, what's so good about this? This helps to keep the dust out of your shop. In addition to that, the filters in here will stay clean, and that's a big important factor too. Today we're going to look at this in depth, and we're going to show you how the dust separator works. We're going to show you how it works with the HFS 800, and we're going to take a big pile of sawdust and see just how effective it is. Welcome back to Pawpaw's Workshop. So what's the advantage of having a dust separator? Well, there's actually quite a few, but the biggest one that you're going to have is it's going to save the filters on your vacuum. Now, if you recall on the HFS 800 that I reviewed, one of the problems that I had was those filters were pretty small and they would collect a lot of debris. Well, having a dust separator added to that is going to solve that problem. So actually, how does the dust separator work? So if you've never seen one before, the concept is actually very simple and very straightforward. The dust and debris comes in right here. So this is where your hose connects from the CNC machine. As that dust and debris comes into this cylinder, it begins to slow down, and that heavier sawdust and material drops down into the bucket below. Well, the nice thing about it is there is a section right here in the center of this cone that's nice clean air, because all the dust and debris is circulating around the wall of this cylinder. So this is where your vacuum cleaner will be attached, and it'll be sucking out the clean air. And by sucking out the clean air, that keeps your filters on your vacuum clean. Your dust and debris falls down into the bucket below. When you purchased the HFS 800, you had a hose that came with it, and this is where you connected that hose right here, and it connected to the dust boot right here on the CNC machine itself. And what that meant is this hose now collected all of the sawdust and debris that went directly into the machine itself, and it had to go through the series of filters. And when you open up the filters, if you'll recall, we had 3 different filters. This was the main filter that collected the bulk of the sawdust. And you can see I still have some sawdust in here and debris from doing the various projects. That one slips back in. And then we had a secondary filter that would catch even finer sawdust. And last but not least, we had the charcoal filter that would catch everything else. And as a result, the clean air would exit out of this air outlet. The problem that you have is with a filter such as this, you can actually have it catch a lot of debris quickly, and that can build up. But by adding the dust separator into the mix, this filter is going to stay much cleaner. There'll be virtually no dust that'll come into this filter, which means your secondary filter is going to stay clean. Your charcoal filter also will stay clean, and clean air will be exiting out into the room. And if you want to put another hose here and exit it outside, you certainly can. With the HFS 800, you had a single hose that came with it that allowed you to be able to connect it directly to your CNC machine. Now, when you purchase the dust separator, you're going to get a second hose. Let me show you just how simple it is to be able to connect these 2 hoses to the dust separator and to the vacuum, as well as the CNC machine. Now, I have the dust boot by FOXAlien already attached to the CNC machine, and this is just how simple it is. We're going to plug that in right here. Then the other end of this hose will just simply plug in right to this inlet valve on the dust separator. This is where the dust and the debris from the CNC machine will go into the dust separator. From there, we're going to attach the next hose where the clean air is going to be pulled out of the exhaust of the dust separator. And the other end of this hose is simply going to plug in to here. To keep my hose out of the way and not drop down onto the CNC machine, I went ahead and suspended it from the ceiling with a chain, and that allows this hose to freely move as you're cutting your project. So if we look at the complete setup now, we have the first hose that attached to the dust boot, and it connects up to this chain that I have supported from the ceiling to be able to keep the hose out of the way as we do our carve. And then this hose connects directly into the dust separator. And then the clean air is going to exit out of the dust separator and come right over into the HFF 800. So at this point, you probably want to know just how well does this HFS vacuum work in conjunction with the dust boot and suck up all of that debris and sawdust from your project. Well, we're going to take it one step further, because even though a project will create quite a bit of sawdust, it doesn't do enough for what I want to show on this test. What I'm going to do is take a great big pile of sawdust, throw it up on the CNC machine, and we're just going to vacuum it up and see how effective this dust separator works. Now I have a big pile of sawdust that's going to be more sawdust than probably a half a dozen different projects would create using the CNC machine. So let's turn this on. Now let's take a look at the dust separator itself. You can see how all this sawdust is coming in and spinning and staying right on the wall of that cylinder. And you can see how, as it begins to slow down, it's falling down to the bottom and goes into the bucket. Now this also is picking up a lot more sawdust than you typically would have in a project. In addition to that, there's some fairly large debris that was mixed in with this sawdust, and it had no problem picking that up as well. One more point that I want to make is that the HFF 800 has a speed control. This is only about 50%. All right, the first thing I want to do, we'll disconnect the hoses. You can look and see that there's a lot of debris in here. Let's open this up. And this is where you can see all of that sawdust that we just gathered up. But the real test is, let's look at the filters. And if we pull out that filter, it looks just like it did before. Now I'm going to take this test one step further. I'm going to put in a brand new filter that's never had any sawdust go through it. And we're going to test this again. Now this filter is in a sealed package, never been opened. Let's slip that in here. Okay, let's put in this brand new filter. That's completely in. We'll close the door now, and we'll take the old filter and we'll set it aside. Now let's take all this sawdust again. We'll dump it back out onto the CNC machine. And we'll put this back together. I hope you can see that this is not a difficult process on being able to put this back together. Just be careful of that one seal to make sure that it's on that outer edge of the bucket before putting the clamp on. If for some reason you don't get the clamp on exactly right, you'll know immediately because it's not going to form the seal. And now let's reconnect the hoses. If you look closely, you can actually see the exact path that the sawdust is taking as it goes through the cyclone. You can see how it spins around the top and it drops down below. I mentioned earlier in the video that I'm using about 50% power. You could speed it up, but it's really not necessary. This setting works extremely well. Using a hose like this is actually far more aggressive than what you would get with the actual dust spout. But I have used it with the dust spout and it's just as effective. As you can see, there is no sawdust at all. That's what I was hoping to be able to see. That is a huge success, and that means you can buy one set of filters, keep them for a very long time, and not have to have the added expense of buying new filters on a regular basis by having the dust separator. That also means that the dust separator will actually pay for itself over time. There you go. You can see all of the sawdust there and not in the filter system on the HFS 800. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this away. I don't need this anymore. Now, one of the things that I want to do is look inside the pipe and see if I can see any dust residue there. Now, I don't know if I can get this in the camera or not, but there's a tiny bit of very minute dust residue that's in that pipe, but so small that it really is negligible. You really can't even see it on the tip of my finger. So this dust separator is definitely very effective. This is pulling out a good 99% of all of the sawdust, and that is a very effective system. I'm happy with that. So I hope you can see that having this dust separator by the FOXAlien is a huge advantage and will save you money over time by not having to buy the filters. So this actually will pay for itself. One of the things I'm going to do also is put a link to the FOXAlien website so that you can take a look at this dust separator and see if you want to add it to your CNC machine. Now, as I said in the previous videos, with the dust spout, you can actually use this system in conjunction with your other CNC machine, should you have one with the... Now, should you use the dust spout in addition to this system, of course, you can use the dust spout attached to the 400-watt spindle, as well as the DeWalt 611 router and the Makita router and other brands that are the 65 millimeter or 69 millimeter in diameter. So this is a great combination to be able to help keep that dust down. I'm very happy. I'm very pleased with the effectiveness of this little dust separator. Very effective, works great, and I think you'll find it useful in your shop. I know I will. The only thing that's left is to be able to find a permanent home for it, and I want to see what your thoughts are about designing a table to accommodate the HSF 800 vacuum and the dust separator, and if you want to have it as a separate unit or something to combine with a computer stand. You let me know in the comments below. I want to thank everybody for watching this video today and be able to participate in the introduction of this dust separator by FOXAlien. It has proven to be very effective in the shop. I really like it. I think you will too. So you might want to take a look at adding this to your CNC machines. You really do want to protect the lungs and be able to keep that dust out of the air. So if you like this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Hit the little subscribe button right down there below and the bell notification. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who watches this video, especially the Patreons who help support this channel. Your dedication to being able to support this channel is extremely important to me, and I really appreciate every single one of all the viewers, subscribers, and my Patreons. So until next time, I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next video. So for now, bye-bye.